Hey man, welcome to the start of the second half of Pennsylvania Speedweek. We are at the Speed Palace in Port Royal, Pennsylvania. That would be Port Royal Speedway, just so you were aware. We had a fantastic night of racing tonight. The 410s were here. There was also support racing from the URC 360s, and we're going to talk about the 410s because it's PA Speedweek. Started off with hot laps. Logan Wagner was fastest with the Kreitz 69K over Jeff Halligan, Anthony Macri, Brent Marks, and Dylan Cisney. And then we had, 39 cars, so we had two time trials groups. The first group was led at the end by Chase Dietz in the Zemco car over Danny Dietrich, Billy Dietrich, kind of surprising because he doesn't come here that often, Troy Wagaman, and Derek Hauk had a great start to his night, 5th place in time trial group number 1. Time trial group number 2 saw Lance DeWeese have a faulty fuel tank, so he had issues during his run. We also saw Chris Smith have engine issues as well. Time trial group number 2, Anthony Macri fastest over Justin Whittle, Brent Marks, Emerson Axum, and Garrett Bard. Heat race number 1 saw Billy Dietrich and Derek Hauk on the front row, and it pretty much spread out right away because the track was still kind of young, except for a 4th and 5th place battle between Mike Wagner and Chase Dietz. That was really the only action that was going on during that heat race, and at the end of it, Derek Hauk was able to win over Billy Dietrich, Cody Lehman, Mike Wagner, and Chase Dietz. Heat race number 2 saw Troy Wagaman on the pole with Brock Zarfos to his outside, who came down to visit since the World of Outlaws have alleviated all their rules about where those guys can and can't race. We saw a lot of huge runs into turn number 1. It was very exciting in those two corners, but I was on the opposite side of the racetrack, so I didn't quite see it in person. Brock Zarfos led lap number 1, and then on lap number 2, Logan Wagner took it from him and went the rest of the way. It was single file by the 3rd lap, with one exception of Troy Wagaman having a little bit of a battle for 4th and 3rd place with Danny Dietrich. That was the only thing going on for the second half, as Logan Wagner took the checkers over Brock Zarfos, Danny Dietrich, Troy Wagaman, and Jeff Halligan. Heat race number 3 saw Brent Marks on the pole, who makes his first appearance in PA Speedweek tonight for 2024, over Garrett Bard on the outside. Anthony Macri starting 4th, had a great start to the race. Garrett Bard really kind of fell slowly throughout the entire heat race, back through the transfer positions, and everyone went to the bottom within 3 laps. It got slick. But there were some guys who were trying to run in the top a little bit, those being specifically Anthony Macri and Kyle Reinhardt, with Cody Hartlob dabbling a little bit. At the end of it, it was Brent Marks over Anthony Macri, Ryan Smith, Garrett Bard, and Kyle Reinhardt. Heat race number 4 saw Emerson Axum and Mike Walter on the front row. This was a good show with Devin Borden and Lance DeWeese battling for 4th place. They engulfed Emerson Axum on lap 3, so it made it a 3-car battle for a little while. But Mike Walter and Justin Whittle were able to make a gap that they led the way to the line. And at the end of it, Mike Walter won the heat race over Justin Whittle, Devin Borden, Lance DeWeese, and Emerson Axum. Those were your transfers. We had to go to a B main with Austin Bishop and Steve Buckwalter on the front row. Before the start of that one, we saw a very interesting thing happen literally where I'm standing right here. You can actually, if we have Nate curve over, the dirt is missing off the wall. So what happened was Freddie Raymer made contact with Vince Snyder, who's in a car that Corey Thornton used to drive, and they were coming down the front stretch, and we saw Freddie go up a little bit, and then Vince went up too, and they made tire contact that pushed Freddie up into the wall, and then he flipped, and it was a big crash. It was like the biggest crash of the night in the 410s, but he was okay. So we got the green flag, and after that, everybody seemed pretty chill. Steve Buckwalter took the lead, and it looked like the 35K of Jake Karklin was pretty good, but he started a little too far back to get back into the transfers. We saw Steve Buckwalter win the B over Austin Bishop, Jesse Addard, and Lucas Wolf, and the 4 of them were the transfers in from the B main. In the A main, it was Michael Walter and Chase Dietz from the pole. We saw Michael Walter get the early lead, and it was slick and dusty through the whole thing. And then on lap number 6, it was a battle between Anthony Macri. Lap number 8, we saw Chase Dietz, who was within contention of that, get a little bit loose, and he lost a lot of time. That was out of turn number 4 up there. He just kind of slid up into the slick stuff, and he lost a couple spots because he was running up there in the front. On lap 11, the lap traffic started coming into play. Thought that might make things a little interesting at the front. Lap 12, it kind of did. So what happened was Mike Walter goes through turns 1 and 2. He goes up into the turn 2 wall, and he gets a little bit too high, gets a little bit too tight, and Brent Marks picks him off for the lead. On lap number 15, Anthony Macri caught Brent Marks, but immediately a yellow came out for Brock Zarfos slowing on the front stretch. From the restart order, we saw Brent Marks, Anthony Macri, Mike Walter, Danny Dietrich, and Logan Wagner. Danny Dietrich used the restart as a pick to go to 3rd place place, and with 12 laps to go, Anthony Macri took the lead from Brent Marks. Logan Wagner got strong in the running, but just a little too late to get really close to those main front runners of Macri and Marks. So it was a good late race charge, and it was still good to see, but he wasn't able to contend with the guys up front. At the end of the race tonight, Anthony Macri takes another win in Speedweek over Brent Marks with his first appearance of Speedweek over Logan Wagner, Danny Dietrich, and Cody Lehman. The rest of the top 10 on the screen now. It was a fantastic race at Port Royal. I always love coming to this racetrack. And at the end of tonight, on the screen here are your point standings for Pennsylvania Speedweek, as we've got 5 races and 6 nights down. And that's the show from Port Royal. I want to thank Matt Faust for helping me here tonight. I want to thank Nate behind the camera. I want to thank Hunter Hensel for being here with me. It was a fantastic night. I had a great time, and I'm really excited to come back on Saturday. But before that, we have to go to we have to go to Hagerstown tomorrow night, which hopefully doesn't rain out, because I love Hagerstown and I have a really great time going there. It's the 4th of July. I'll bring out my Uncle Sam hat as long as we get the race in. But until we see you next time, take it easy, everybody. Thank you.